Yeah, guys, another cold day outside and out here in the shop. So I'm having a real problem getting content done the way I want it done. It's still, I thought we'd be in spring by now, and we're still kind of dealing with winter, it seems like. We had snow again yesterday, and there's still little remnants of it hanging around today. I think the best way that I can produce a little bit of content for you at this very point in time on an ongoing basis is I'm just going to throw these kind of out in the shop update and do it just kind of a little vlog style and just let you know what's going on here in the shop and what's planned for the shop. There's lots going on. I've shot lots of content here lately, but it's been content of opportunity. You know, here last week while we had a couple of nice days, and I managed to get the basic frame welded up for the stand that's going out underneath the Grizzly milling machine underneath the G0755, just to raise it up. You know, we talked quite a while back that it sat way too low, and I raised it up. We've got it blocked up on 4x4s to approximately the right height, and I've made a little adjustments to those heights too. But the plan has always been to put a nice steel base underneath that, probably with a drawer in it. A few little features I've added onto it and everything. And we had a nice enough day that I had, you know, I went and got material and I got the basics of that welded up. So probably what I'm doing most of the rest of the day is I'm going to slide that underneath the mill, and I've got to mark where the hold down bolts go so that I can bolt it to the machine itself, to the machine base. And I shot a little video of that about what my thinking was of how I did it and everything, but I haven't finished it, so I haven't kind of put it out there as a project or as a series of projects, whatever the case may be. So I just got things like that going on. So like I said, that's probably what I'm doing the rest of the day. I've got crap stacked here on my bench. I've got several projects stacked up here, and I thought I'd just share them with you. I'm going to see how this goes. I'm probably not going to do hardly any edit to this. We'll just see how long it goes, and if I've got decent content in it, and if it is, why we'll upload it that way. And I may do a few little projects like this, or just little shop updates like this. If you like them, you know, let me know. If you don't like it, why, let me know, and we'll do something else. We'll not do anything. We'll do something. Anyway, so what I've got on the bench is projects that I've had going, working on the gear cutting for the 127 tooth gear for the Sheldon lathe, for the metric gearing on that. Got a gear cutter in, and it was a flea bay gear cutter. I've gone back and forth about how I wanted to add gear cutters and everything, and this was a decent buy on an import. It was a used TTC cutter, so actually it's sitting here. So I guess here this is just stuff I'm going to clear off my bench as I go and start putting it away today. This was the drawing for the gear blank. This was the drawing for the gear blank. And I was going to 3D print that, but it's right on the limits of size-wise what I can print on my little 3D printer. So I'm going to build a pattern out of that. But there again, I'm waiting for the weather to warm up a little bit, day when I actually feel like working on it. Well, right underneath it's the drawings for the cross-slide stops for the Atlas lathe, the threading stops. I've got blanks cut for that, and we'll start on that project here before too long. So that's those projects. Gear cutter wise, and I kind of shot a little bit of content on this the other day, which may go in the trash bin off the computer or whatever. But anyway, this is a 16 pitch 20 degree pressure angle, which is appropriate for my Sheldon. Now they've used that and 14.5 degree pressure angles. The Atlas 10 and 12 inch take a 14.5 degree pressure angle. I understand those get interchanged a little bit because you've got some adjustment, but I'm going to try and keep them to the proper thing. So if I go to cutting any Atlas gears or Atlas metric conversion gears, they'll probably be cut with a 14 degree pressure angle. So, and the 6 inch is, I don't remember the pitch and pressure angle on it. It's different than the standard Atlas 10 or 12 inch though. So that's gearing wise. Something else, I know what it was. I had a comment, and I'd followed a individual's Atlas mill rebuild or refurbishment that he's doing. It was mentioned on the Atlas Craftsman list. He had gone to clausing, which I've advocated all along. I've always told you guys, if you're looking for Atlas parts, rather than buying them off a flea bay, check with clausing and see what they've got, because a lot of things they still produce to support those machines, the older mill shapers and lathes, and usually it's as cheap or right in the same price range, if not cheaper than what you can get off of Fleabay. So always go back and question Clausing about that. It's worth giving them a call and finding out what they've got for parts wise. Individual was buying some gears for his Atlas mill rebuild, and they were $19-20 a piece for the standard change gears or the gears that he needed. And that, I think, is about the going rate from Clausing for any gearing that they're offering for those change gears and stuff. So it's always worth checking. So anyway, he and I had a little bit of a conversation about that, but I've always advocated to go ahead and do that. Other things sitting here, these are the hockey pucks that I use to build machine stands out of. These four, this is one that I just had already done that I use as a pattern. These four will be ones that go underneath the milling machine. So I've got to set those up in the lathe, and we drill those, and then they take a carriage bolt and washers and nuts underneath. So those are on the bench waiting to be done. Moving on from there, the coolant system for the Grizzly mill. Dual head, my fog buster clones, we're still working on those. That is we'll see if it works. I may have things all screwed up, but anyway, I've got a whole bunch of parts here. I've got a bunch of lock line and fittings that are going to be to mount them on the head of the mill. And I'm just setting stuff over here on the mill out of the way as I clear it off of this bench. This is the air regulator that's going to go to provide air for those. And then there again, I shot some. I don't know if I showed these or not, but these are, if I can undo the hoses, these are my renditions of the heads that are going to go on them. So set up, these are the little screws that I use that were Harley carburetor adjustment screws. And I've got two of these made up. So we've got two of them, got nozzles built for the ends and everything. I think it's going to be a good little system. We'll see how well it works once I get them set up. I've got two more of these heads cut for use on probably at least one of them on the Sheldon lathe, and we may mount one on the Atlas turret lathe. I'm not sure yet where we're going to do, but I think that's the system I'm going to stay with. I've already shown I've got the water filter canister over there sitting waiting to go on that. Working on the grown-up corn tool and cutter grinder. And I've had the castings for the bases done on those, which these are the bases. And quite a while back, I had cut the spiral shafts, or the spiral shaft on the upright. And then I've got the two bar beds cut. So I made some changes to the way I'm doing the bar beds from original, and one will be the rear. This is just the standard, and I've still got to set them up, face off the ends, do the machining on them, but they are cut to length. One of them is going to be a standard front bar bed. The rear is going to be a standard bar bed. The front I've changed around. Rather than running them directly in the bores of the castings, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a brass bushing on either end, and this is for the front bar that will slide in. I've machined out the base castings, the front holes in those, to accept these with just a little bit of play, and when I set up and epoxy everything in place, we'll fixture these up so they're proper distance and everything on the casting, so we've got the right spacing, which isn't real critical, and we'll get into that when we get that far. But what I am doing is I'm going to, these are at this point in time, a very tight fit on the shafts that I've got. They will go on, but they're, once you get them on there, they're a tight fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lap the front bar. I'm actually going to lap both, but I'm going to lap the front bar especially to size. So I need a lap for that. So one of my other projects has been, these are the castings for the countershaft assembly on the Delta wood lathe. And we talked about that. It's been quite a while there. Again, projects that have been sitting and haven't been finished. So what I've done is I'm going to put I'm going to build a bearing housing for them. So we've got standard ball bearings. And it is a standard ball bearing. I don't have the number here in front of me, but I need a housing to set in there that's going to both support these and center them in between. So I've got my adjustments with the 2 screws that will go in there and still support a bearing housing. So there's a commercial one that's made, or semi-commercial, a lot of the same stuff that I kind of do, that somebody has built them out of round stock. They've got a step on them so that they'll fit in the hole through those hangers, and then they've got a larger outer diameter to accept the bearing. And I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to put mine in a casting because I do castings. So I want casting housings. I need 2 of those, and then I also need at this point in time a lap to go in to do these bars for the grown-up corn. So what I did is yesterday I was 3D printing, and I just built me a oversized blank basically, and this is 2.5 inch diameter. I need a 2-inch diameter is what I'm after. And this one's about 2.5, and then it's 3 inches long. And this is just going to be kind of a universal blank. So what I did is I built me a blank, and then when I printed them, I printed in a 1/2-13 thread in either end. So you've got them. And then I printed 2 little core pins. So what I've done is I've threaded them 1/2-13 too, so these are 1 inch. And I can print these in whatever size I want within reason to use as a core print, and they'll just thread right in each end. Now I thought about casting these as split patterns, which would have been easier, but then that takes away the ability to put our core prints in the ends. So I can just cast whatever size core print I want in those, and then I'll cast them as a rollover pattern. I'll lightly bed them or cope them down, whatever I may do. I may actually build a follow board so that these fit down in and set the way they're supposed to, and then print them off that way. But then I can interchange the cores. I can keep this print forever, hopefully, and anytime I need a blank in this approximate size, I can just cast them up and put whatever size cores I want in them that I build. I'll build core boxes appropriately. So that's the plan there. Get those out of the way. And that is most of the stuff that's on the bench. There's a few other little things here. I've got mill tooling. There's the printout of Stefan Gotteswinter's mill to hold your indicator holder for centering things up on the mill. That's going to be a project. And there again, I've got a lot of little projects like that. Got my copy of the Brown and Sharp Wiggler shaft that was, I think I've already shown the one that I had that was damaged, that I purchased several years ago that had some problems. Other than that, I've got a lot of tooling sitting here. I've got tooling for on the CNC lathe. There again, another project going on. I moved the CNC lathe. I'm shifting things around in the shop trying to make extra space. So the CNC lathe moved. The Sheldon had moved about a week before that, and I'm setting up more tooling on both the CNC and the Sheldon. The other Sheldon needs to at some point in time come in so that I can check condition of it and get it up and running again, although there's a lot of work to do to it. Got a lot of new tooling coming in, like I say, both for the Sheldons and the CNC. So that's happening. And that's mainly what's sitting here on the bench. There's a few little pieces, parts. There's some, as I was cleaning, why I have these little pieces here. And this is a part that I produce or have produced in the past. And these are some that just needed to be cleaned up and blued and thrown in the drawer. They'd be ready to go. What they actually are is for a Model 12 Winchester, and we'll talk about gunsmithing stuff here in just a little bit. But on a Model 12 Winchester, the safety button is down on the trigger guard, so you shift it left to right to move it off a safe into the fire position. Now on firearms that are being used in the field, why we always want these safety functions to be operational and safe, takes away liability, things like that. When we get into specialty things like trap shooting, combat pistol, things like that, we will sometimes take safeties and, well, not in combat pistol, but on the trap range, you're only shooting 1 round at a time normally. Or sometimes 2 if you're shooting doubles for trap itself. But this is a safety lockout, and it just locks the safety in the on position, and that does away with the possibility of bumping that safety button and having your call for a clay pigeon and your gun not going bang when it's supposed to. So in applications like that, where that's all that gun is used for, sometimes we'll install a safety lockout like this or something like that. Gunsmithing stuff. As most of you know, if you followed me, I've had my commercial shop open, and I've done general gun repair and some custom work for about 30 years. I've varied from that. I've done a few other things along the way, but primarily that's been what I've done through my own shop for the last 30 years. And I'm a hobbyist now that I'm retired. So I've taken quite an interest in working on some of my own projects that I have had and haven't done for years. So that, and then some reloading stuff. I've done some reloading stuff and a little bit of gunsmithing stuff over the years on this channel, but it's not the most popular thing here, or hasn't been the most popular thing. And it doesn't matter to me if you are pro for what I do, against that, whatever, you're entitled to your own opinions. The way I look at it is the equipment that I have and the knowledge that I have and the mechanical things that I do and that I enjoy do have all been provided to me, or the avenue to get that and to be able to do a lot of the machining stuff that I do now has been made possible because of what I've done for all those years. So I've taken quite a personal interest. My son's going to start reloading here. Now he's going to be in a location where he has room to set up reloading stuff and everything. So I will be basically setting up his reloading setup for now to give him his starter setup. So you're going to see a lot of content on that. The gunsmithing stuff now, like I say, I'm a hobbyist. I'm able to enjoy a lot more of what I've done, or what I'm doing now with that respect. I'm not doing it for customers, I'm doing it for me, so I'm enjoying it quite a bit more. And so I watch a lot of that stuff on YouTube too, and here just the last week or so I've been watching quite a bit more just to see what's going on. So of course YouTube feeds you more of that content. So I've seen a lot of gunsmithing stuff that is just crap. I see a lot of advice that, while it may be at least in some respects good information, I see a lot of stuff that I consider to be incorrect or just flat out wrong. Now, when I do these, I'm giving my opinion. This is the way that I've done it. This is what I've done, hopefully professionally, for several years, or have adapted or found out what's worked. So you're going to see a little bit of gunsmithing content. You're going to see a little bit of reloading content. It's going to be, those two will be separate. They'll be in their own, each in their own playlist. I'm going to mark them as such, with a interesting little title to them, and I'm going to number them 1 through however far it goes. If I'm on one particular topic, there may be a number 1, part 1, part 2, whatever the case may be, but they're going to have their own little individual name, and that's just the way I'm going to do them. They're not going to be in any particular order. They're going to be whatever is being worked on at that very instant. So my bench here, and this is the same bench that I've used for years when the shop was open, and I've got another one of these benches that I used when I had another shop, a little satellite shop at another retail shop. So I'm going to redo this bench, either this bench or the other bench. It's going to be strictly my gunsmithing bench. So a lot of the things that are in this bench are going to be moved out, you know, like I've got a set to 6-inch Mitutoyo micrometers there. That case is going to come out of here and be placed someplace else, and it'll be replaced with just something. I've got 3 other toolboxes sitting over here that have pretty much strictly gunsmithing tools in them, and they're all, as much as I can, is going to go into this one location, and that's what it is. It's hobbies. I don't want to track it down in the rest of the shop or whatever the case may be. So all of my barrel wrenches or my action wrenches hopefully will go into this cabinet and things like that. So anyway, as time goes on, I'll go over what I've got, why I've got it, how I utilize it, and why I think this is a good idea or that's a bad idea. And a lot of times I'm kind of negative about stuff, so things that I've been inspired by from seeing somebody else say this is the way it's to be done, I may rebut that a little bit. So anyway, hopefully this is content that you can find a little bit of information out of or find useful. When I look at the things like the guns, and this comes back to whether you're pro or anti, makes no difference. To me, what it is when I look at what someone else has been able to do, and when we go back in history and look at John Browning's kind of biography and the way he designed some of these early Browning guns and some of the Winchester patents and things like that, when you look at the way an individual from that time frame was able to build very functional and think out and design very what I consider to be at least somewhat advanced designs, and then be able to produce those with a hammer, a chisel, and a file, basically. To me, that's pretty amazing. So those are the things that I take from looking at some of the things that have been designed in history that maybe some people don't agree with. So anyway, there again, hopefully you find something useful here, find it somewhat interesting. You know, comments, suggestions, yay, nay, otherwise, leave them in the comment section for me below, guys. And as always, thanks for taking the time to watch.